Hi guys, I'm Uncle Richie.
Yo, what up? J Money's back.
And this is C10. And you're listening to the Unkles Podcast.
And we're back for another episode, the Uncles Season 2, Episode 3. And we've got a very special guest, Amelia Kuk, everyone. She's been a long-time friend of mine, of Charles, and through the rugby circles, actually. So, how are you today?
Yeah, good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
One of our biggest goals for 2024 was to speak to a lot more women, because I feel like a lot of our content the last year that we pushed out was male dominated, and we spoke to the lovely Yana, who's also known as Conscious Kumul, and she gave us some perspective, and we sat down, had a brainstorm, and was like, this year we want to speak to a lot more women, because as Papua New Guineans, women are a big part of our lives, especially there. They are the backbone of many of our households.
Yeah.
So it's important to give them a voice as well, and that's why I wanted to bring you on. And you're someone who's paved the way in different areas, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But first, I wanted to start off. Where were you born, raised? Was it Mount Hagen?
Yeah. I was actually born in Pom, but mum and dad were in Pom when I was born, and then obviously went back to Hagen, lived there until I was 10, and then because dad's a geologist, so he worked in the mines.
Wow.
And then he got a gig over in Africa, so we moved over there when I was 10 years old, and we lived in a country called Mali in West Africa for 2 years. Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
So that was really cool. Like all my sisters, we went. And then every 3 months, they gave him anywhere he could go for holidays. That was part of his contract. So we were chose to go back home every time. So every 3 months, we traveled from Mali all the way back to Hagen. Stayed there for 2-3 weeks.
That would have been 24-hour trips.
Yeah. And it was cool because we were we'll stop in Dubai, Paris, Singapore. So we got to see a lot of other countries while we were doing our travel. So that was really cool. So I lived there until I was 12, and then moved back to Hagen for a year.
Yep.
Then we moved to the Pilbara in Western Australia, so a little town called Tom Price.
Yeah.
And we lived there for a year. Then moved to Perth for a year, and then finally decided to settle down in Brisbane.
Oh.
So and we moved to Brisbane in 2010, met my grade 10 here.
Jeez, so your whole family's well traveled.
Yeah. I mean, we were so young. I wish we did it when I was older, so I could actually see it. But I'd love to go back and see the places that we've been and all of that. We've got photos and stuff, but I don't remember much. We just see we saw the Eiffel Tower and things like that, but not really see Paris, which I would love to go back and see, and then take my kids someday as well.
Yeah,
so that'd be really cool.
And it's crazy. You said Western Australia. We had DC on, and he said he was he came over from, his family moved from Bougainville to Mandurah, I think so, in Western Australia.
Okay.
So it's funny. I've spoken to a few people who go from PNG, and their first city in Oz is Western Australia. So it's pretty crazy. But then you go from WA to Brisbane, but what was the sort of cultural challenges that you faced? Being in Western Australia, I can imagine there's not many PNG people there.
No, yeah. So Tom Price especially, there was only one other family there who we are so close with, but we were lucky that their parents knew our parents from back then. They all went to school together and stuff. So we had such a good community there, because PNG, we need our community.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the hardest thing was trying to make friends.
Yeah.
There was even back in like Tom Price, there was not many like indigenous people there as
Really?
well. Like in the schools that we went to, like it was predominantly like white.
Yeah.
So I was like, and people thought we were indigenous. So I just rolled with it. I'm like, yeah, I am like indigenous from like another country, but like same. Because like they didn't know where Papua New Guinea was as well. Like it was such a small town, and they just know each other. Like there's like one main shop, like there's one Coles, like little town, and then two main schools where all the kids go to.
Yeah.
So there's not really much around. But when we moved to like Brisbane, we felt more at home because like we walked out the street and you could see like so many PNG people everywhere. And I was like, yes, finally, like. And that's when we decided to settle here because like we love the weather here, but like the people as well. It reminded us of back home. So like it's our home away from home. So this is when like my dad was like, okay, I think this is where we'll like put the roots down and stay here. So yeah, it was I think because we like traveled a lot, we like had to like learn to adapt really quickly. And then at the time, like I was like so scared to go. I went to like 4 different high schools and like so many different primary schools that I was like scared every time we had to move because I'm like I just started making friends and then now I have to like leave again. But now that I look back on it, it was actually like a really good thing because I think it like helped shape who I am today, like having to like learn so many new skills so fast, especially like making friends or like networking now and stuff. Like you just gotta go and do it. Like you don't have time to like sit back and get comfortable before you approach someone. Like you just gotta go and do it, and I think that's paid off in the long run, like for myself. So like I'm grateful for that now, but at the time I was like, shit, Dad, we're moving again. Like, I just set up my room, like, I just made some friends. Like it was really hard, and I think like my mom as well like was struggling a bit as well because she had like there was 5 of us or 4 of us.
Yeah, you got a big family.
Yeah, and like she was used to having a village around her, like raising us, and then my dad just like took all of us and was like, right, I'm just going in the middle of nowhere in the Pilbara, like survive basically. So mom like didn't have her support group as well, so that was hard for her with like raising us. But then that made us like girls have to grow up really quickly as well and like take over and do things and help mom out. But it's all paid off in the long run. But a lot of moving around and a lot of like cultural differences growing up, so it was really hard. Yeah.
And are you the eldest?
Yeah.
Okay, so
eldest of 5.
There would have been lots of responsibility.
I know, I'm sure everyone can relate if you're the oldest. Like, doesn't matter whether you're like boy or girl. Like, you set the standard for your young ones to follow. Like your younger sisters, I mean, and brothers. And I think like a lot of the things that I was not allowed to do, like I see my sisters doing it now, and I was like, I remember getting beat up for that. You're just gonna let them go out. So there's like a lot of things that like we've had to like. They say it in Hagen like broken bush nago, like you just have to like set the path, and then they follow. So it's a lot of responsibility being the eldest. Like you always have to watch what you're doing because your little ones are like, oh, she did it, so I can do it. Like then you have to like if you're achieving things, it's great, but when you're doing like things that are like not okay for you, like mom and dad, you get seen a lot more.
They bring you back in line.
So
then moved to Brisbane. Then you went straight into high school?
Grade 10 here, yeah.
And where'd you go to high school?
I went to McGregor State High.
Okay,
so in Southside, like.
And that was close to where you guys lived, or?
And like mom and them still live there. We're still there after many years.
Wow.
So did my 10, 11, and 12 there.
Yeah.
And then finished up there.
Wow. And where did this passion for, well, first it was rugby union, right? And where did that stem from? Was it school or after school? How did you fall into that?
Yeah, so it's actually like a funny story. I like never knew rugby existed. Like when I was in school, I played touch and volleyball and stuff, like that was my sport. And then I got into UQ after like school, and then we went to like open day. We were just signing up to like all the different sports. And then I signed up to volleyball because I was playing volleyball at school, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like my sport. And then we went to training. It was at like the St. Lucia campus. Yeah. And after volleyball training, I went to catch the bus to go home, and then my usual bus stop, like the main bus stop area, like the bus wasn't running for like whatever reason. I was like, shit, how am I supposed to get home? So I walked around and I was like, I'll try and find another bus stop. So I walked along the riverside where the fields are. Yeah. And then the fields were closed, but the girls were training like right on the tri line near the footpath, and they were just like running straight at each other, like fully tackling, like there was bags out, everything, and I was like, holy shit, like they're like just running straight at each other. So I went and sat down and I was just watching them, and then the manager came up to me and then she was like, do you want to come join us? And I was like, no. That doesn't look fun. I was like, I'll just watch. And then she was like, no, like we're like looking for girls, like if you want to come try it out, like here's my number. So she like got my number there, and then as soon as I went home she like messaged me straight away and she was like, we train Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time, so if you want to come. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we didn't have volleyball training like the Thursday night, so I was like, oh, I might just go and check it out.
Yeah.
And then I went there, and my first training session, they were doing like contact, like 100%. And I have never played before. Like I didn't know the game at all.
Yeah.
I played touch, but that's like touch.
Yeah.
And then I remember bringing the ball, and I was just like jogging, like, and then I just got leveled out. Like this girl just came and like fully took me out, and I was like, I stood up, I like left the ball on the field, I walked out, and I was like, sorry, Babs, like this is not for me.
Really?
I'm like, I never wanted to play again. I was like, this is not my sport. But then I went and sat on the sideline like for the rest of the like session. I was just watching them, and then she was like talking to me, and she was like, it gets better, like once you like learn how to play, like it's actually fun.
Yeah.
And then she convinced me to like stay. So then I came back like the next week, and then like the rest is
wow, that's funny you say that, because I've watching you like through those years, you're like what would I say, you're a tough player, just from your carries, tackles, everything. But for you to say that you went sort of 50% and someone hit you that first training session is like, if anyone asks what Amelia Kuk was like as a player, that's like so different to the player you became afterwards. So it's pretty funny that that happened. And then so from there, I think I met you when you were at UQ. And then through like the Queensland PNG Rugby Union Circle.
Man, good times.
Throwback.
It was such good times. I think that's probably like the highlights of like my rugby union, to be honest. I think it was the first time that we got all our generation together, but like playing a sport that we all actually like really love. But half the time we were there to like just make jokes and laugh and like just be with each other, and I think that was like the greatest thing that came out of that. And I wish it was still going. Like they've stopped it now, so whoever's running KQPR that's listening out there, bring it back. Honestly,
bring it back. But for those that don't know, Queensland PNG RU, so it was a Queensland PNG Rugby Union team, and we would all come together. So there was a men's team, there was a women's team, and we would all come together, train, and then play in the Queensland Rugby Union Pacific Carnival at the end of the year. So this was after footy season. We'll play 3 or 4 weeks.
Like weekends.
Or was it just a weekend?
No, I think it must be like 2 weekends.
2 weekends.
Like rounds and then finals. It
was only 20-minute games.
It felt like forever though, during that time.
Because you go to 2 trainings a week, then we'd play 3 games on the weekend or something. Then you go into the finals. But that was just awesome, because I got to meet lots of other PNG men and women who lived in Brisbane, and we all just shared the same belief and wanted to grow grow rugby union. And it's funny because a lot of your books and Palais came from Queensland.
That's so true.
Yourself, Malugu, Mel, Yo, and the list goes on. There's plenty, and in the men's team, me, Bradley, Ravi, Zion, Geordie, Moxie. There was just Nigel.
Nigel.
So there was so many, and I look back, like you said, and that was just a great period of footy. Like I would play a season. Just looking forward to that.
Me too, actually. I'm like, who cares if we didn't win the premiership? KQPR
was on. But let's sort of rewind and, you go play KQPR every year, and then what was the first sort of, how did you get approached, or did you approach PNG Rugby Union to play in the Palais?
Oh yeah, so I was approached after my first year at UQ.
Oh, okay. So this was before KQPR.
This was before KQPR.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think it was 2014 when I first played for the Palais.
Yep.
Was that the same year the KQPR came about? I think so. Yeah, 2014, 15, and then 16. I think we were still doing it. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Because it was so random. Like I got an email from someone, and they were like, there's a training comp or something in POM.
Yeah.
Do you want to come and play? And then at the time, I was like so excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, like playing for PNG. But there was one of our girls at UQ at the time. Her name's Trisha Brown. She like played Aussie sevens and 15s and stuff. And she pulled me aside and she was like, I don't think you should go and like play. She was like, if you want a future here in like rugby union, don't go and play for PNG.
Yeah.
And then at the time, like I was like 17, 18. I was like,
young,
yeah.
So young.
I was like, who are you to tell me not to go and play for my country? Like, I got so offended.
Yeah.
And then like years back, like I like reflect on it, and I was like, man, she knew what she was talking about. Like she saw like something in me that I guess I didn't see myself at the time. Like she thought I had potential to go far in like rugby union. And then I was like, nah, I'm gonna go play sevens, and then did that for a bit, and we were over at the Pacific Games in 2015.
Yeah.
And then and that same year I like ended up playing for the Reds at the time. It was called Nationals back then. It's Super W now, but back then it was just like a 1 weekend comp. You just go and play, and they selected like the Aussie squad from there.
Yeah.
So I played that, and then went to the Pacific Games. They announced like the Wallaroos train-on squad, and they named me in the team.
What?
And then I remember being there, and this like guy came up to me, and he was like, "Oh, like congratulations, like blah blah blah." And I was like, "What are you on about?" Because they just announce it on their media platforms like this, like they don't tell you first or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, like what are you talking about?" And then he like showed me the thing, and I was like, "What?" And I came back from Pacific Games, and then I got an email from like the manager, and he was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you had played for Papua New Guinea. You can't actually come into this camp."
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
International clearance and all of that.
Like eligibility, because I put on a jersey. I have to sit out 5 years before I'm like eligible for Australia again.
Stupid rule. Yeah.
And I wish back then like Brownie had explained that to me, because to me I was like, no, this is an opportunity to represent my country. I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah.
I was like, as if I'd say no to put on a PNG jersey.
Yeah,
but I didn't like understand that at the time, and then after that I was like, oh shit, like she knew what she was talking about. And then there went like my dreams of like playing for Wallaroos.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
That's when I like made the switch to league, because I was like, there's nothing here for me in rugby, because even with seven stuff, like we tried qualifying for the Olympics, and like I mean it's still happening now. There's like so much politics and everything, and the team that went to SB Games didn't send the same team to when we went to qualify. So I rocked up, and had never met any of these girls, and I was like, I'm putting my life on hold to like qualify. Like, I'm trying to give it all I've got, and you guys are like taking the piss. Yeah. Like it's a waste of my time. So I played my second game. I got red carded, and I was out. Like the whole thing. And I actually like remember when
why'd you get red carded?
We were playing Fiji, and then the ruck was already sealed.
Yeah.
So instead of like coming out and just like joining my defensive line, I like pulled her over, and I like pulled her over my head, and then she fell back, and then the ref was like off, and I was like, are you serious? What did I do? I knew very well what I did.
You just manhandled it.
I was just so annoyed like that whole comp, because we were like getting smashed by the teams that we would like beat at the Pacific Games like a month ago. And then they weren't there to like sightsee, or I don't know what they were there for, but it was just like, you played for PNG. But it's so frustrating, because we have so much potential.
We do.
And our pathway to the Olympics is so easy compared to like every other. Like all we have to do is place in the finals, and we like play Samoa, Tonga, Vanuatu, like the teams that are not. They don't. That rugby's not their sport.
No.
And yet every time it comes around, we like fail to qualify, and it's so frustrating. So I was like, I'm done with that part of my life. And then I came back and that's it.
But what was the feeling like when you donned the PNG jersey for that first cap? Did they play a national anthem for you guys?
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
so it was just a sevens comp. So it was like a Hong Kong sevens, and Malugan actually played in the first.
But Hong Kong is that's the best sevens tournament to go
to. It was so good. Like that was I remember like we were just like sitting on the bench, and our first game was like I think it was against Kenya.
Yeah.
And then I was coming off the bench, and then I ran on the field, did a high tackle, and got sent off. Because I was like, we didn't know how to tackle properly at the time too. Like this was literally my first year playing rugby, so it's like whatever. Like how
that's
you
crazy. Like your first year, so you've gone from learning the game to literally playing at the Hong Kong Sevens.
Yeah, it was like because the actual Hong Kong Sevens comp where like Australia and New Zealand played is in like the main stadium, but we played in like the invitational one. And like the team back then too, like it was basically like who wants to play? Come on. Like no skill, like no knowledge.
Don't say that. No, they paid you guys, everyone 10,000 kina.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
That's why I'm so rich right now. All my sacrifices have paid off. But no, it was like I remember I did a high tackle and got sent off, and I was like, okay, like, yep. And it's like I don't know if it's like a PNG thing or whatever, but it still happens now. Like when our girls like they go to like a final or grand final or whatever, and then someone always gets sent off or something, and I'm like,
it's just I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But the refs seem to hate us.
That's I think it's the refs. It's definitely
Let's blame the refs. Yeah. Let's blame the refs. But I think a big reason of why we wanted to get you on was you're a bit of a pioneer in the sense that your first year you went and played Palais, and then you came back here and then switched codes and went to rugby league, and then found yourself in a Gillaroos jumper playing in PNG against PNG.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, like, what was that like?
Oh man, that was like an experience I will never forget, because like the national anthem, I remember like standing there with the Aussie girls, and then the PNG national anthem went first, and I couldn't sing it.
Yeah.
And I was there facing Papua New Guinea. Like, I could see, like, we went to John Guy Stadium. Like, the crowd was there. They're up there. You know, every time we sing the national anthem, like, it's full of pride. Like, everyone cries.
Yeah.
And I just remember I'm like, do I sing this? Like, do I just, like, Passy Master, just, like, wait for the Australian national anthem? Like, it was so emotional. And I think I was standing next to, like, Meg Ward and one of the other, I think Jess Surges, actually.
Yeah.
And then I was just crying.
Yeah.
Like, because I just saw my people singing, and I was just like, there's just like tears like just rolling down my eyes. I'm
Sorry guys, technical difficulty there. My camera died on us, but we've got a new camera there. But I thought we were on the story or the topic of Lala playing in PNG for the Gillaroos against Papua New Guinea, and I actually found one of her posts that she did after the game, I believe. So I just wanted to read it out for her, and then we can get your thoughts on all those feelings. But you mentioned that this is by far one of the most emotional adventures you've ever had, standing in front of my home crowd, singing the Aussie national anthem and bursting into tears when the PNG anthem went up. An unbelievable experience playing in front of the best crowd in the world. A great day to showcase women's footy in PNG and change the mindset of people by spreading the message of Strompleman respecting Meri. Thank you to the PNG Orchids for creating history and paving the pathway for the future generation of women in the country. to get a standing ovation from my people after the game really topped it off. My heart is full. I love you, Papua New Guinea. I'll forever carry your name with pride and do the best that I can to bring good name back to you. You will always have my heart. I will remember this historical day forever.
Wow.
Wow.
Who wrote that? Oh, man.
Wow.
Pulled on the heartstrings a bit.
Yeah. Even I was getting a bit, psyched up then. That's, yeah, what, like, you were talking about it when the camera died, but, let's go back there. You finished on when you were standing in the lineup, the PNG anthem's on.
Yeah, PNG anthem, and I was standing next to Meg and Jess, and then I just remember just crying because I couldn't sing the Papua New Guinea national anthem, and I was just crying, and then the Aussie one went up, and then I don't think I sang that either. I was just like too busy crying, and then after the game, I was like, right, let's play, because like it didn't matter what the result was from that game after. Like history was created for both teams.
Yeah.
It was the first Prime Minister's match for the women's.
Yeah.
And the Orchids' first game ever. Like that was their first game, and then it was the first time that like a PNG girl was playing on that side as well. So there was a lot of firsts during that moment. So I was like, it was a success, like despite the results. And I think the girls ended up scoring like one try, but just that game changed like PNG women's rugby from that day onwards. So it was such a big day for the girls, and I think it was the first time that a lot of the male people in like the crowd were like, oh, like these girls are actually playing here against Australia, like and like now when the girls go back and play that, like they've got 100% support, like everyone. That was only like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. And the stories that I hear from the girls, like before when they were playing, they were like bottles thrown at them and stuff, saying, "Oh, go Laos, like you guys are not fit to play here, like
terrible.
Play, like all these things." And for them, like it was so emotional for them playing there and like having the crowd cheer them on. Like that one try that they scored, like the whole stadium like erupted. Like, it's so good. And and that's like with like even the men's team, like we could be getting smashed, but we score one try and everyone's like, right, we won the grand final. Full time, we won. And like that passion that they have, like I love that. Like I think like some other teams when they lose, like when they're getting like beaten by so much and then they score one try, everyone's like, oh yeah, clap. But we like celebrate like we just won a World Cup, like grand final, like it's that passion, like is so powerful, and I think you can't teach that, like, and that shows to the players as well when they're playing. I think when they put on their PNG jersey, like you can't coach that, like that's something that either you have it or you don't. Yeah. And they like when they dig deep and they're playing for Papua New Guinea, like they live it all out there, like they literally put their body on the line for like the country. And like I'm sure you've like experienced the same when you put on the PNG jersey as well, like that feeling. You're like. When you're running, you're like, I'm going to run through a brick. Yeah. It's like someone put a cape on me, like, I'm going to fly through this brick wall. Like, that's how you feel every run. And, like, we could be getting, like, smashed, but you still have that every time. Yeah. And I think that's what's also, like, so sad about, like, our things. Like, we have so much talent, and that's something you can't coach. But the things that we can coach, like, we just don't have the resources around us to, like, help our, like, potential players get through. Yeah. And I think when you see someone like Justin Olam, like, he's got that passion already, but surrounded by the right resources, like he blossomed at Melbourne Storm. And every time he ran, the crowd like were like on edge. They're like, he's gonna like F someone up. And, like, his tackles are like so good because he's got that like mongrel, that like passion already, and he's been taught the skills and everything. Like with the right people around him, like he just break through. And, like there's so many of Justin Olam's back home. There's so many like LC Alberts back home. Like they just need to be surrounded by the right people.
They do, and that's the challenge for Papua New Guinea and sport at the moment. We need a well-run organization that provides the right resources, as you said, and gives people there the opportunity to, get the best out of them. Yeah. Because everyone's got the talent there, there's definitely athletic people around. It's just about trying to, you know, get the best out of them and you know, make them blossom, like you said, like Justin did.
Yeah.
But wanted to go a step ahead after the Jillaroo game, and you did a full circle moment and went and played for the Orchids after that. Yeah. So how was that like?
That was not a good experience actually, because I think when I went to play for them because I didn't make the final cutoff for the Jillaroos for World Cup.
Yeah.
And I just missed out. So I was like, man, I was like training so hard for World Cup. And then I missed out on selection.
Mm-hmm.
And then David Wesley, he was the coach at the time, like he gave me a ring and he was like, hey, like there's a spot for you here. You know, if you need, would like love to have you. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, at the end of the day, I just wanted to play in the World Cup. So I'm like,
of course.
I would
Anyone
take
would.
Yeah. I was like, I'll take that opportunity. So I flew up, and then the girls, like, because I had played for Australia, they were like, you're a trader.
Yeah.
So when I walked into, like, my first ever training session for the Orchids, like, everyone ignored me. Like, there was no hi, welcome, nothing. Because they had been training for, like, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then I just, like, rocked in, like, a week before our first game, basically. We were going to fly to, like, Sydney for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just ignored me. So I was like, I expected it because I was like, this is just like how we are. Like we can't.
PNG mentality.
It's PNG. Yeah.
It's very unprofessional.
It is. And like, I've heard stories about like James Seguiara like being treated like that as well. And I was like, no, he deserved it. Like, but no, I didn't mean that. But like, I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't expect it to happen to me.
Yeah.
And then, because I had, like, some of the girls, they've come through, like, sevens as well, or, like, rugby union. So, I, like, they've been around, I've known them and everything. And for them to, like, just carry on and, like, not, I was, like, really upset with that. And my first training session, we were training. And then in our, like, skill session, like, because I was, like, coming through the Aussie system, like, the standard is, like, on another level. So, we're doing, like, passing or, like, you know, for going up and down or whatever, and just comms, like I was talking a lot and they didn't take that very well. They thought I was trying to coach the team. So it's so funny, they had a meeting, like the team had a meeting like without me, and they were like, we're gonna go and talk to her because because she's trying to coach our team and we're not happy with that. So they went to the captain, and then she came and she was like, you need to go and apologize to the girls. And I was like, what am I apologizing for? And then she was like, oh, they're just not happy with you. Like, you're trying to coach the team. And I was like, what did I say, like, at training? And then she was like, oh, no, you know when the girls are, like, talking and passing the ball, like, they don't want you to talk. Like, you need to go and apologize because you can't just come in and talk. And I was like, okay, right. And then we had, like, a team, like, movie night that night. And then everyone got in the bus. I was like, if I'm going to apologize to these girls, I'm not going to do it to the girls. I'm doing it in front of the entire coaching staff so they know what's going on. And then we arrived at the movie theatre place that we were going to go watch the thing at. And then the bus driver was like, all right, you know, enjoy the movie, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, shut the door. And then I went and stood up, like, at the front, and I was like, first of all, and, like, I just, like, let it all out. I was like, you do not own this team, like, it's not your private team. I was like, I have every right to put on this PNG jersey, like, just as much as you do. And I was like, I'm sorry if I made everyone feel like uncomfortable or whatever for being here. And it was funny because when I was like saying all that, like the coaching staff had no idea what was going on. Like, I mean, they wouldn't anyway. Just amongst the girls. And they were having their own little like sessions to like outcast me. And I was like, and you want me to come and apologize to you in like private? Like, I'm not gonna do that. And then I just like let it all out. And then I started getting emotional and I was crying and I was like, I had this jersey. I was like, I have like every right to play for my country, like blah blah blah. And I was like, if anything, like I'm bringing like value into the team. Like I'm bringing like what I've learned from the best team in the world, like into the team. Like instead of seeing it as like a positive, they were all like, no, you're a traitor. Like you chose to play for Australia. And now, because you didn't get selected, you're going to play for PNG, like all this, like I didn't earn my spot. It's like, I could see where they were coming from. Like, there were girls that worked really hard, and I just walked into the team. So with that, I could see where they're coming from, but I was like, it didn't, like, excuse them, like, treating me like that.
Yeah, no.
So it was so bad, and I remember like just feeling like really upset about it. And after that conversation, the coach got up and was like, "Cut this like crap out. Like this is not on.
Yeah.
Like blah blah blah." And then we ended up like, because they were filming for the documentary Power Mary at the time as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So a lot of the things were happening behind the scenes. Like we didn't see it on the documentary, but it like the documentary finished with like all of us like coming together, like having a good game, like blah blah, and like basically changing the mindsets back home.
Yeah.
But that experience for me, like it wasn't a good one up until like I spoke up and I was like you can't treat me like that. Like I am one of you. Like look at me. Like I'm not like someone who was like, you know, wasn't born back home and didn't know our culture or whatever, and just like walked in and started like demanding things. Like it's different, and
I feel that's how everyone, well, most people think about people like that who have lived here.
Yeah.
Like I remember going back when I was when we got selected. You know, I was like 19, and went back, and you know, when you're at number 10, you get given the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
And you know, there were lots of 10s there that had been there, you know, for years and years.
Yeah.
PNG rugby, and when Frank sort of, you know, he said, "Mate, you're going to start at number 10." It was the first trial we had down at Tarama, and I could already tell, like, we've done a few trainings, but everyone's like, "Psh, light skin mangia," or like, you know, they're all like, "I'm not fit, I'm not fit," all of that nonsense. But then I had to sort of prove it to them that, you know, I'm a fucking good number 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like that game, everyone that literally ran my channel was just like, like just trying as much as I can to like fold them and assert like my dominance.
Yeah.
So I mean that's what turned their heads, and they were like, shit, I'm fit.
Man, and that, like, it's so annoying that we have to prove ourselves, and like I guess it's good because it makes you step up like even more. But like, man, we always have to prove ourselves at the end of the day that like we have the right to be here just as much as them. So, but I think like you can sort of tell as well in like training sessions when you're like running, like who's standing out and who's like, especially like talking and directing and all of that. Who is most likely to play, but they'll always, and it's sad that it's never changed, like it's still there now. So I don't know at what point, like at the end of the day, like we want to win and we want to put the best team forward. Like it's not about whether, you know, you've been through the system for years. If someone walked in and they're better than you, then they're just better than you. Like we just have to try and like fix our mindset to the point where we're like, right, we're gonna put our best team forward, where they're gonna put up a good fight and like win. Actually, at the end of the day. So
And after that, so a few years down the track, you become a mother.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the most exciting parts, you know, about our discussion. I wanted to get to that and sort of ask you, like, how has that all been? And I know you mentioned just before, you know, you're back at training now at the Devils. So, talk about that. How's, you know, motherhood like, and then going straight back into training after 4 years? Yeah,
so like I was telling you before we started as well, like when you were talking about these things, it feels like a different lifetime because it's like everything happened before I had kids. It's like it was literally like it feels like someone else like lived that life for me. Like I don't feel like it was me. And then like now that I've had kids, like my daughter's like 6 months now. And I think when I had her was when I had like a change in my like mindset as well.
Wow.
Because we didn't know what we were gonna have until like they like brought her out, and then she like when we saw there was a girl, I was like, man, my life I need to live my life like completely different from what I had imagined.
Wow.
Because I have a girl now.
Yeah.
And before it was all about like, oh, I want to do things for Papua New Guinea. I want to be the first to do this, so that little girls back home have someone to see that, you know, she's gone this place or whatever. But I was like, now I have a little girl and I want to do it for her. Ooh. So I was like, everything I do now, I want like her to see. And I always love the saying, you can't be what you can't see. And I was like, if my daughter can see her mom like doing all these things, which is a big reason why I went back into footy. So I started training with North. I signed my contract a couple of weeks ago, and for the upcoming season. And I know it's a long journey to get back to where I was, but I want to do it so that if I crack the system again, which is like my goal, I want to play at the top level again, and I want to do it for her so that when she's older, I'll be like, you have no excuse because your mom did it. That's why I'm doing it. Just so I can be like, you have to do it because I did it. But it's actually changed my mindset because I was convinced I was going to have another boy, and then the guys have it so easy where you can. Everything you want to be it's already been done. You can see it. You're like, oh, they're the first person to do this. Oh, it was a male. You can do it. Whereas the girls, we're the first ones to do it now. So I think when my daughter becomes older and she can see that I've taken that path and I've done all these things before her, but even more I've done it after I've had kids. It means a lot more. And I think if I was to crack the system again after having kids, it'd be a good that would probably be my I think my greatest achievement is my kids. But if I come back and I'm able to play at the level that I was before I had kids, or even better, that achievement in itself would speak volumes. And I think everything I'm gonna be doing now is for her.
Yeah, wow.
So
that would be amazing.
That's right.
That would be amazing. I mean, your story, you guys heard, your story is already amazing, and then if you do that, that would just seal the deal.
Yeah, I think so.
But
I think
there's so much you can be proud of.
Yeah, and even when you were listing things and stuff, I feel I only become aware of it when other people talk about it. I myself don't actually. I know I've done these things, but it doesn't sink in until someone's like, oh, you actually did this, you were the first to do this. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, I was. It doesn't sink in until someone else says it.
Yeah.
And then I think now when I want to do it, I was I will appreciate every single moment, because towards the back end of my career, I think I got to a place where I was complacent, where I was making all these teams and I was I didn't have fun anymore. I was just it was just going through the motions and stuff. So it was good to step away from the game for 4 years. Now that I'm back, I feel it's my first session back. I'm starting from the bottom. I don't have anything to prove. And then the first session was a shock to the system. Everything, I was oh my goodness, I have to learn to run again, basically.
Yeah.
But my body's been reset, where I have no injuries for the first time ever, touch wood.
Yeah.
But every pre-season I have a niggling injury, whereas now I'm 100%, which is never happened before, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
so stoked for that.
Yeah.
But I think now that I'm the conditioning and stuff that we're doing at training, my mindset has shifted, and I love it now. Whereas I used to hate it before. I'm oh my gosh, we're doing this again. Whereas now I'm yes, we're doing it because it's gonna benefit me. It's gonna help me.
Yeah.
And my mindset, they're at times before kids, when my physical body couldn't take me in conditioning and stuff, I would just give up. I'd be oh, I'll just sit it out or whatever. But now, if my physical body can't take me mentally, I can go 10 times more.
Yeah.
And I've got different levels. They say you go to the dark space when you're
yeah.
Yeah. But I feel I have 10 different levels of that dark space now, where I'm okay, I can push a little bit more. I can push a little bit more. And then now I just love giving everyone shit at training when I beat them in a race or something. I just had 2 kids and I'm beating you. It's funny. I just love doing that now. And I think just being on the team again has made me miss it so much, because I always knew I wasn't finished with that part of my life. And then after having kids, I'm okay, I just need to give it one last crack, and then I'll hang up the boots when I feel I've ticked some boxes or achieved some things.
Yeah.
So
that's.
I'm getting excited for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited too to see you come back, and hopefully the uncles can come out there to North and watch a few of your games, because we want to do that. We want to get out and watch guys like Benton, Kitron. Yeah. We have one of our other mates, Kenneth, who's with the Tweed Seagulls now. So there's lots of PNG people in rugby league that are doing great things. So we want to sort of be there on the sidelines and give them a voice, or give people back home a view on how these people are doing in the league comps. Because I think they don't really see it. They just see like, oh, someone got named in the Kumals and he was playing for like Capras or something.
Yeah.
Like, who is this guy?
But yeah.
So I think that'll be a good way to get our year up and running.
Yeah.
But to finish off, I wanted to just ask you curveball question.
Yeah. I'm ready.
To finish off, but what is your sort of dream goal or dream idea, or how do I position this? What would you want to see for young women in Papua New Guinea? Not sure if it's like more opportunities or a safer environment for them to blossom and have equal opportunity to be able to get the best out of them. What is your dream for the next PNG girl? For
like career wise or like
career
wise?
Oh, let's go sport.
Okay.
Because we're on that
sport topic. Yeah. I think to have the same opportunity as the men.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, and I think that starts from like grassroots, like junior, like school level. I think the biggest problem we have now is that we select boys who have already passed that like prime age of learning the simple skills, and then we just chuck them into like hunters, for example, and they're just expected to play Q-Cup boys who have been training since they were like 3 years old, and they've learned how to pass the ball, they've learned how to like mark or defend or whatever, and that's like bread and butter to them. Whereas you come into like a hunter's system and they're learning those things from like 20 years old. But they should have already learned it at like school age.
Yeah.
So I think like my dream for the future is like to have the young girls like start all those basic skills at like as soon as if they're interested in playing rugby, like start that at their school.
Yeah.
Like even if it's not a class or whatever, like at lunchtime, get a group of girls who like do the simple things so that when they come through the system and they finish school, like that's already like second-hand nature, like they can do it with their eyes closed.
Yeah.
And then we're not having to start from scratch. Like I noticed with like Orchids camp and stuff, we're having to teach simple things when we get into camp, when let's just like team stuff and play how we're gonna play. Like we don't have time to teach these things. And the girls that are here are so like lucky because all of this like they've grown up with, and they do this at like the club level of training. Like here is like so high as well, like the standards.
Yeah.
And I think if the girls want to play rugby league in school, like I think they should just implement the systems, because then we don't have to go look outside for people to come and play for our team. Like we've already like embedded that into our system. They've just come through and they're just like the pathway is so clear.
Yeah.
Whereas I think now they're just like, oh, you just play comps here and there and hope you get seen kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then you have a good game, like once a good game and you get picked, but then you come here and you're having to learn it from the start because like you don't know how to do the simple things. So yeah, I think that'll be it. But I think the boys have a lot more of the opportunities. Like I know they do a lot of like they have schools here that go and verse them.
Yeah.
And stuff like they've got this, whereas the girls don't. And I think I would love to see a system set up where it mirrors the boys' system, but from like young age and grassroots all the way through to like Kumals and Orchids.
Yeah.
Like a clear pathway. I think that would be the future for Papua New Guinea Rugby League.
Yeah.
And it would we would just have such a big pool of talent that it's just like you've already like
crazy.
Yeah. It's like
untapped, untouched.
Yeah.
But look, just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. I know a lot of people are going to be into this episode and are going to really love it because, my younger sister, she doesn't play footy anymore, but I know when she was coming up, she was, you were definitely one of her idols.
Oh, that's so nice.
So she's going to be, I told her we were doing this podcast and she was like, I'm going to be the first one to listen. So I know there'll be lots of younger girls who will tune in and want to listen to your story and how you overcame some of those challenges that we spoke about. So
Yeah.
Thank you once again from the uncles.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I think I love what you guys are doing here, and I think like I told you before, but it's so relatable, like things we talk about, like especially with us back home, like we don't really have a platform where we speak to our own and talk about the struggles and stuff. Especially the younger generation, I think where the world is heading, we need each other more now than ever to like keep our heads straight and like just stay on the same path.
Yeah.
And even like a lot of people like are like passing away from things because they've gone off the rails or whatever. Like that's a dark topic. I don't know why I touched that. But like it's so important now more than ever to like just like
It is,
you know like have a good head on our shoulders. I think so. Yeah, I love what you guys are doing here and spreading the word and
Thank you.
I can't wait to see when I come back next and you have your own like little studio with like.
Yeah, we'll have a whole production team.
Yeah. Like the lighting will be there.
And by then you'll be back in the jewelers.
Oh no, Dad. I think we're shooting with the stars here. But one step at a time.
Oh, no, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lola. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Till next time.